always a pleasure to see you, and
Tony.
it is a gorgeous, gorgeous day here
Man.
in North Carolina. Where did you bring me to today?
We are here at Roush Yates Manufacturing Solutions, and they have arguably the nicest facility I've ever been in. I know you've been here before as well. Incredible company, certifications, medical, aerospace, defense. I mean, this place has it going on. They've been using ProShop for many years now. We'll learn more about that in a minute. But we're here to walk through this incredible facility and see what they do and how they use ProShop in that manufacturing process.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Talking to the audience real quick, Roush Yates is very well known for winning races. They win, win, no matter what, if you know that song, right? You know that one. But also, it's a manufacturing facility with some of the state-of-the-art machining that's out there, automation, work holding, cutting tools. Mitsubishi's a big partner as well. And yes, ProShop has been a great addition. And we're going to head inside and talk to Brian a little bit about when that started and how that relationship has continued to grow.
You bet.
Let's step inside,
Let's go
shall
do
we?
it.
Say hi to Brian and learn a little bit more about this place.
How are you doing, Paul?
Brian, good seeing you.
Good seeing you, Tony.
It's a pleasure. You know, I want to hug you every time I see you. You got that smile. It's good to see you. Thanks for having us in. And
yes, thank you.
ProShop.
Yes, it's wonderful to have both of you guys join us today and give you a tour and show you how we're utilizing ProShop since 2018 when we first met you guys at IMTS.
Yes.
And the growth that we've both experienced over those years.
It has been a parallel story, yeah. So we were in a 10x10 booth in the downstairs of the East Hall. Yeah, you guys came and saw us and signed up at the very beginning of 2019, and it's been and you've grown significantly since then as well.
And along with that growth, we've been great partners over the years, just learning with each other as we've grown how to utilize both your ProShop attributes as well as the growth of our customers in support of that.
Yeah. So I was just looking it up. You guys were customer number 73.
Yes.
Now well over 500, but and you've added dozens of more machines since that period of time as well.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, 6 years has been growth for both of you guys. Let's continue to walk and talk and see this machine shop. I know the audience wants to see the shop.
We walk through this way. Let's walk by these things first.
Also, while we do this,
Works of beauty.
I actually met Paul a few years before that in Washington, of all places.
No way.
When he was just getting started.
Yep.
And that was kind of neat. So knowing your relationship since 2018 just adds to the story. And knowing that our friendship has been going on this long as well,
100%.
It's exciting to be here knowing, like Paul mentioned, dozens and dozens and dozens of machines just over the last few years growing the manufacturing facility.
Yeah, it's amazing the growth we've experienced. And again, these are kind of what started it all off, right? So we're a main supplier to the engine shop just across town, our parent company, Roush Yates Engines. And so that's really what kicked off the manufacturing need. And so since then, we've grown into the aerospace, defense, medical industries and have experienced just an explosion of growth over the last several years. And really appreciate the industry, believing in us, just like our parent company believes in us to supply parts for their engines. We're doing aerospace and defense and medical parts for some pretty cool customers.
Well, as a die-hard motorhead, when you guys first walked into our booth, 6 years ago, and now the opportunity to work with such a legendary name, obviously starting with the engines, but now into all the other industries that you support. It was a dream come true for me, so like a kid in a candy shop.
What a nice thing to say. Dream come true, kid in a candy shop.
That's right.
Plus you guys have that other facility that's kind of a dream to walk through as well, where you're doing a lot of the testing. But I want to add, as we walk into this machine shop, also a kid for me, Paul, to being a part of this, is that if you guys are doing so well, what you are all the time, been manufacturing these award-winning motors, and the world knows you for that, right? The world knows you for that. Why not partner with someone like Roush Yates to make other components that are going to be state-of-the-art and world-renowned? It makes sense, right?
100%. Yeah, I mean, just using our expertise on making those components, and they're very transferable over to the open industry. So that's really been a big beneficial for us, is just taking our knowledge base of what we already had in existence and really selling that service to the open industry that can really utilize that.
Yeah, you can't make the winning things that you make without realizing the precision components and the the dedication that goes into
Right.
something like that, right? So
100%.
why not expand into defense and medical
Right.
and the other areas as you've mentioned?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of the things that we learned on the racing side has really been transferable over into the just everyday manufacturing, right? Speed to market, really huge, right? Lead times aren't getting any shorter. People want their
Absolutely.
parts faster and faster at a decent price. And so we felt that it was a really good natural fit, right? Race on Sunday, they don't change that, date. So we got to make
Sure.
sure our customers are getting their parts on time with high quality.
Yeah.
And speaking of on time and high quality, this is where ProShop comes in.
Absolutely.
I'm grateful to be here today. I love the clean floors, the shine, know everything that's going on. But I go into a lot of shops around the country and around the world, and I see these guys in a lot of places. And what they bring to the table, even though I hear some people go, "Oh, ERPs are pretty much the same," I go, "Have you met my friend Paul?"
Right.
And this is where all of this comes together as well, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah, well, ProShop was born out of the shop that I started with my partners back in 1997. So we met in college, built race cars, built Formula SAE cars, speaking of being a motorhead, and fell in love with machining, decided to start a machine shop. As our company grew, we started needing some better software to organize things, and when we looked out on the market, we just couldn't find anything that we thought was suitable for a job shop, which is what we were back in the day.
Yeah.
So we just started programming something for ourselves, and it eventually turned into this other company. So
yeah, as we continue to walk, Paul, I want to add to that and just say, when I think of the best sales folks out there, they typically come from the world of running or fixing the machines. When I think of someone like you just described, it probably comes from a lack of not having something you need. And what's that saying about invention is the mother of necessity is the mother of
invention.
How's that work?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you did.
Absolutely. I mean, we started with spreadsheets, as many small companies do. Those got kind of tedious as we grew and just had more employees, more things going on. So we realized we were going to outgrow those spreadsheets. We looked for software, could not find anything. We're like, we're do-it-yourselfers. Let's just figure out something for ourselves. And we honestly had no intentions of ever selling it to anyone else.
Right.
But it just naturally kind of happened that way. One of our biggest machine shop customers saw it, asked us to sell it to them, and that was kind of the beginning of what's ProShop today.
Well, when I think about a machine shop and kind of the processes of how something might happen, how it might be adapted, the first thing we got to do is receive the material, right?
You bet. Yep.
So how does ProShop help with the receiving side of things?
Yeah, well, let's use these next-gen uprights, which are really cool parts, by the way, Brian. Like, these are just epically cool. You guys start with a forging, right?
Start with the forging, yep.
And so we're going to cut away here to check out that receiving process, but those forgings come in from your vendor.
Correct.
They have traceability, they have material certs associated with them, and those immediately get scanned right into ProShop,
Correct.
linked to every work order that might run these parts, so you have that traceability all the way through to the end product.
Everything has a beginning, everything has an end. We're starting at the beginning with shipping.
Shipping and receiving.
And receiving.
Yeah.
ProShop, there is an integration
we
here.
tie
isn't there?
right into both ends of it. So, so this is these next gen uprights, which I can't keep my hands off them. They're so beautiful, especially anodized with the finish. Yeah, the hardware. So when the material first comes in to the facility to make these things, that's, as Brian said, that's a forging. So when they issue a work order for, let's say 100 more of these things, that forging will be on the bill of materials. That will trigger purchasing to buy them. When those forgings come in, they're going to have, like all raw materials, it's going to have a material certification, maybe a CFC from the raw material vendor. They'll scan that into ProShop right here in shipping receiving. That gets linked automatically to every work order that then consumes those uprights. So let's say they're making 4 different work orders, for lefts and rights and fronts and backs. But they get a big batch of material that's going to scan, automatically track not only the job costing, of course, because we talked about job costing and being important, but the traceability of that material. Same thing when it goes out for this anodized process, when it goes out for possibly heat treating or nitriding or anything that's out of house. When it comes back in, those certs, those process certs, are also going to be scanned into ProShop. And at the end of the process, when it finally goes to ship, ProShop will automatically make a full document package with all of those documents collated into one package one button. It's a miraculous button. It's pretty fantastic.
It's like the easy button.
It's the easy button, because normally that's a many hours process. It can be a many hours process. In fact, we did a case study with a defense client. They used to spend about 12 hours to do every document package. With ProShop, it was one click, less than 5 minutes.
That sounds crazy to me, and this is something that just came to my mind. You were always born ready, so there's probably no question you're not ready to answer, but I know you're not prepared for it. I used to spend at least a week, if not more than that, doing inventory at the end of every year. Is this also
Sure.
incorporated in something like that where we can save so much more time?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you can do different types of inventory counts. We think cycle counting is the best. Just do a small incremental part each month or each week, however you do that. ProShop will show you the inventory that hasn't been touched since the last time you did it, so you don't need to check it again. And yeah, it absolutely does all the inventory of both finished goods as well as all the raw materials, what we call COTS items, hardware, like these nuts and bolts that they buy off the shelf. Yeah, it does all that as well.
Have you always enjoyed making people's life easier?
You know, even as a little kid, I definitely was a little bit of a people pleaser. So yes, it fills my heart to make people's lives easier, especially people in precision manufacturing.
Well, Paul, you and I have this really cool tour going on right now. Should we get
should
back
get
to
back
it?
to
Yeah,
it.
let's get back to that tour.
Okay. And same thing, of course, happens. I know these will get anodized. They get heat treating or any other processes
Correct.
like that. All those certs, all those things in the receiving process. You know, traceability is absolutely foundational in manufacturing for all those industries, whether it's NASCAR, whether it's aerospace, defense, medical, nuclear, whatever it might be. So it is really important to trace that well, and it's one of our superpowers, is just doing that super duper well.
Superpowers, I like it. Brian,
Yes.
this to me looks like it might take a minute or two to do, and it probably requires a little bit of understanding of how to machine something, right?
Just a little bit.
And Paul mentioned what it is. Could you share a little bit more details about what this part is?
Sure. So this is an upright that goes to all the different NASCAR teams. So this is what actually holds the spindle that holds the wheel on, right? So these guys, we're the sole provider for all the teams, whether it's Ford, Chevy, or Toyota. We supply them agnostic to brand here at Roush Yates Manufacturing. And so we build these. These are just the main component. We do the assembly of the bearings and the spindles and so forth in our other facility here on campus. But usually it takes us about anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks from receipt of forging all the way through the finished machining and assembly.
That's not too bad.
Not too bad.
All things considered, right?
And that's a lot of teams, a lot of uprights.
That's right.
And then we'll get to it later. You're repairing them and rebuilding them as well.
Correct.
Right?
So the teams will send them back in as a sealed unit. We'll disassemble them, check them, and then rebuild them.
We are going to get into that later. Way to take my job there, Paul. I mean, you're always doing the right thing, and I like that very much. Can we talk a little more about Roush Yates Manufacturing, Brian, as we walk through? I mean, I know you've added, we said dozens and dozens, but you've added a bunch of machines over just the last few years because you guys have been that reliable resource to make manufacturing components, not just on the automobile side of things.
Absolutely. So, we've had a pretty aggressive growth over the last 3 to 4 years. We're up to 60 machine tools inside this facility. Still have a lot of plans to grow that beyond that. And so, our customers right now in the manufacturing side are struggling, right? Finding good resources that have appropriate lead times for the products they need. Yeah. And we're just trying to keep up, right? We're letting them lead the charge and growing with them. And, it's just been an awesome experience to be able to serve those customers.
Yeah, I shared something just recently, Paul. Thank you for commenting on it, by the way, just about the importance of staying learning, staying up with technology. If we don't pay attention to that, we're falling behind. And I myself, Paul, can firsthand attest to not having an ERP system at the places, the machine shops that I ran, and how many times we either misplaced products, misshipped something, didn't inventory it correct. I mean, all the bells and whistles that go into, oh, they're all the same. Oh, no, they're not.
Yeah, not even close.
Well, I think to speak to that point is that the manufacturing industry in general, especially a contract manufacturing world, has really got complex over the last 5 to 10 years. And so being able to handle those complexities That's where ProShop has really aided our help, is taking all those different manufacturing plans and really funneling them into a common platform to help us be successful.
I'm going to ask you, so what I think to be a fun question, but you might get mad at me, and I hope not. What would it be like without ProShop? With all of these different SKUs and parts and complications that are going, I feel like I'd be lost, completely lost.
Yeah, I think Paul said it best when they went through that experience of growth, and it came, ProShop came out of that adaptation of spreadsheets into, kind of a full-blown ERP. Without it, it really is going to be chaos, right? You're going to be doing a lot of work with little gains. And so for us, ProShop has been able to take that complexity and really simplify it in a very disciplined approach to make it successful.
Yeah, well said. Even if he did say it first, we'll say it. So I like this. Our audience loves to see parts, and I know you have a lot of secrets here. Fortunately, we can show a little bit of this secret. Can we talk about this part?
Yeah, so this goes part to that previous part we looked at. This is called a next-gen bearing spacer. This is a component that goes into the assembly.
That is a heavy part.
Yes. So we start with the billet, and then we finish off, machining that turn.
I can't hold this that long, Tony.
I'm with you.
So that is a bearing spacer that we apply to the main assembly for those uprights.
Right.
And so right now our NT 4250,
beautiful machine.
Great mill turn capability, but it's a one and done. Raw billet, that's a finished part coming out. It will get black oxided after, so we do send those out to OSP. And then comes back in, final checks from QA, and then goes over to our assembly shop for final assembly.
This, to me, and I'm sure there's mathematicians out there that are going to comment, but it feels like about 95% of material is being removed from this. So I have to talk about the programming side of things from the ProShop side as well.
Sure, yeah, it's a lot of chip removal. Obviously, you got this double spindle, double turret lathe.
Correct.
And you guys are, am I correct, Mastercam is what you're using for
programming? We use Mastercam and Esprit both, so we use both of them. Yep. But yeah, I mean, to kind of talk a little bit about, I think, how ProShop has helped us analyze and keep everything straight from the complexity of that part. And I know you guys will talk a little bit more when you guys get to talk to the programmers, but we use sequence detail quite a bit inside ProShop. And what sequence detail is basically, it helps us know what the tool life will be on a part like this, and it keeps our inventory and our tool crib appropriate for the amount of work orders for these parts. So every time a work order gets cut, and if we got sequence detailed honed in, it will tell the inventory personnel in the tool crib, hey, you need to make sure you have X amount of inserts for this part. Because it is a big consumption with that much of material removal.
It's really helpful, yeah. So we're combining kind of two typically disparate types of software. ERP obviously is working on the demand side, the scheduling, the planning, but then the MES part of ProShop, the manufacturing execution systems, that's where, the programmers, the sequence detail is what we call, it's a component within our part module, so they can uniquely identify every cutting sequence. So the facing, the roughing, the core drilling, the finishing, the slotting, which cutting tool it is, what the tool life is, what kind of holder it should be in, what kind of extension length. Those are all the details that, if you don't have it organized, can easily get misplaced. They're on pieces of paper, they're in people's heads, they're on, scratch pads. And when everything has to be right for this part to end up right, you got to make sure all those things come together nicely, And so, we're gonna hear from Kyle, where one of their programmers, and just dig in a little deep on that. After all that walking around, I need to sit down for a minute, and we're going to talk for a second with Kyle. Kyle, good to see you.
Good to see you.
So you are a programmer here and manufacturing engineer. So I'd love to have you share a little bit about how you use ProShop in your work.
Yeah, so we use it a lot for the setup sheets, the process sheets, any in-process drawings, and then the tooling module. We manage our fixtures as well as our parts through there, so we add that information for the shop floor, and nice thing is anybody can access it anywhere.
So a machinist will pull up a setup sheet, the drawing, like you said. They'll obviously be doing their inspections right through ProShop as well. But and then tied into the tool crib so they can make sure to kit and prep the exact tools that the machinist is going to need that you specify.
Yeah, and the majority of our parts, we are using the sequence detail.
Okay.
So we can actually track the tooling costs and look at inventory levels for tools as well.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and we're using the CSV import tool for this function to minimize the programmer's manual intervention.
Okay.
Before it was pretty time consuming.
Sure.
But we are utilizing it to
Is that out of Mastercam?
Yeah, so we utilize an Excel-based setup sheet.
Okay.
And take that and turn that into a CSV and then import that directly into ProShop, and it's pretty much done quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your tool life right here, so that feeds into job costing and how many tools are needed to order.
Yep, that's the goal of it. And then, we all know that, ProShop is all hyperlinked back and forth, so it doesn't matter where you are, you can get to wherever you want, either by part number or work order number. So if you don't know something, so we can get to our work orders really quickly and easily.
Yeah, and you got the super zoom. You must have really super good eyes. My old eyes are like, what?
When you sit close to it,
yeah,
it's a lot easier to work with. Yeah.
And do you find that having that much information at the fingertips of the machinist means they're coming up the stairs less often to ask you questions about how to do things?
Definitely. Yeah. By being able to put in the additional information into either run description or written description, we can add setup sheets and tooling information, which makes their job easier. That's the whole goal, right?
Yeah. Faster setup times, less scrap, less interruption.
Yeah. And then we can because we're using Excel based, and then we convert it to a PDF, which allows it to be read on the shop floor by any PC without having an additional license from Microsoft.
All right, Kyle, well, thank you so much for sharing.
All right, thank you.
Good seeing you.
And I think before we move on, I think the big other attribute that you're going to hear the common theme by everybody you interview is the integration of those different attributes. All these different details are very tied together within ProShop, where in most other ERPs, there's other segments, right? They're kind of disjointed, if you will. The other thing that we tie together, and you'll not really talk to the specific individuals, but I think Adam will touch upon it when you guys talk about scheduling and some of the other integration, is our quality engineers tie all the work instructions and the inspection data points required to make sure that part's successfully made inside the ProShop, inside the operation. So our operators know exactly what to check. They record it inside ProShop under what's called the IPCs, the in-process checks.
Yeah.
And so they're able to set up the plan. If we follow the recipe card, if you will, from the router, we should have a successful part at the end.
It's incredible. It's incredible how far we've come. I think about when I first started machining in 2001. And you know what process I had? Measure it. And then make an offset, and not write it down, and make it all the tribal knowledge, and then of course we're using more than one cutting tool, so maybe my OD is correct and my ID is incorrect, or maybe my drilling's off. I love technology in general, and you guys being here with us to share technology with the audience, thank you for doing that, by the way. It's so much fun for everyone.
Yeah, well, quite honestly though, the types of industries that they're serving, they require that level of detail, that level of documentation, because ultimately the way I think about this, the end customer, the buyers and quality engineers, they are in the risk mitigation business.
Right.
They want to know that when they place an order with Roush Yates Manufacturing Solutions, that thing's going to show up on time, good quality paperwork, and they can count on that, right? And because if you're not delivering on time, if the parts are bad, they get rejected. Or they're fine, but the paperwork isn't there to prove it. Send it back, start the whole process over again. So it can be a big mess. So yeah, it's pretty critical to tie all those things together.
I want to take this opportunity and kind of slide over in this direction. We have a Swiss machine, which is somewhat unique to your overall manufacturing. But what I want to do over here, if it's okay with you, Brian, and just a quick number, more or less, about how many machines do you guys have in here?
About 60 machine centers.
60-some machines with automation, flexibility. About how much tooling goes into all of that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of tooling we couldn't imagine, right? So we got a whole dedicated tool crib that manages all that for us. And again, I don't think it would be quite manageable running it by itself on a spreadsheet, right? So that's why we really rely on the sequence detail and some of the other key attributes that ProShop provides from a tool management side. And you'll get into that a little bit when you talk to the programmers. We've been on a big kind of project over the last 9 months of inventorying all of our tool holders so that we can start issuing kits out of the tool crib to better utilize all those tools, have them sequenced properly and ready for the schedule.
Andrew, I'm Paul. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so you help run this tool crib here.
Yes, very much so. Keep it in shape.
Yeah, I feel like the tool crib is the heart and soul of a machine shop. Like you feed all the machines with all the right tools and holders. Tell us how you use ProShop for doing that process.
Really, on a normal day, if we get a setup sheet and it's brought to me and I pull the tools, I can use ProShop to reference all the locations for the tools, the quantity for the tools. If for some reason we didn't have it in stock, I can use it to track the order ID for our purchase orders and where it is in stock, and then start contacting representatives, and all that information is tied into pretty much just a few pages that can all be accessed through each other. So it's very convenient. It allows me to help with keeping track to make sure that we have the right quantities of everything, so everything's on time. The tool holders especially, making sure all prices are set in there. That way we know exactly what we have and we can update it with talking to representatives and just communication, and it is a very fascinating tool.
That's cool. And were you here pre-ProShop?
I was not.
Okay.
So when I was introduced into it, I actually saw the convenience right away. I was like, it's made life so much easier, and just finding tools, ordering tools, everything like that, and holders too.
I'm glad we can make your life easier. So ProShop also ties into the actual physical storage, right? So you have, can you just tell us about how the physical storage of your tools relates to ProShop?
We've separated our cutters into cabinets, and then rows, and then a shelf, and then row. And so we can correlate a tool like cabinet 2, row shelf 6, row A, so we can go to the second cabinet, 6 shelf down, and go. And so when we use ProShop, we can put that information into ProShop. So not just me, but an operator who is just running a part and a tool breaks, they look at the setup sheet, they can read that tool, type it in, it tells them how many we have in stock, where to go and find it. It tells you what the vendor is, so like if I'm not available, they can let the proper person know, hey, can you contact this vendor to get this tool ordered with all the correct information. So
beautiful.
It is very helpful.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
No
nice
problem.
meeting you. Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
And as we're talking about tooling, Paul, and when I see, again, I'm going to go back to, they're all more or less the same. I'm going to keep doing it today.
Yeah.
It is not the same. How does ProShop support all of these toolings and this tool crib to go along with, as you mentioned earlier, Brian, integration of all things?
Yeah. Well, like I said, when we back in our shop days, when we were out on the shop floor trying to have our setup times be quick, have our good quality, eliminating process variability is such an important concept. And so, how many times, and you probably remember this, if you get something at all from the programming department, if at all, maybe it's just you got to read through the G code and try to figure it out. But if you got everything, it was like, half-inch end mill, quarter-inch drill, number 7 tap. And that's all you had. Like, how many flutes? How long should it stick out? What's the helix angle? What kind of tool radius? When you're leaving that much variability open, you're going to have problems. You're going to have scrap. You're going to have long setup times. You're going to be hunting through the shop for tools. We're firmly of the belief that you should be able to walk up to a machine and not have to leave that machine at all before you get your first good part off. If you left the machine, that means something wasn't prepared right in advance. The plan wasn't right, the quality plan, the cutting tools, the work holding, whatever it was. So if you can document that, kit it properly like you're talking about, you're going to have your best chance of success of getting that first part off in the shortest period of time. Probably the time hopefully you quoted or faster, as opposed to spending hours and hours scrapping parts and having a big mess.
It's brilliant. And not only is it brilliant because of what you just said, but we're getting ready to head into an area that is kind of what we might consider more old school or more traditional machining. And the reason I'm segueing from that, Paul, is because the way you just described this, and I saw Brian nodding his head as well, going, yeah, that's exactly what it does, right? The reason I say that is because And I'm going to take this brief moment to just quickly touch on labor shortage and trying to get people in.
Oh, yeah.
I would make the discussion based on what you just said, and I'm purposely being a little bit long-winded so we can get into this cool room we're in right now. But I would say that by what you've created and what you've allowed to happen, someone who's newer in machining might have a better adaptability into the machine shop than having to train them for a year or 2 years before they can, what we would feel, be compatible or understand how the shop works. Instead of running, this drill press for the first 6 months to a year, which is still necessary, don't get me wrong, you've now allowed someone to walk out to that Tsugami or that Haas machine, press a button and feel confident in what they're doing pretty quickly.
Yeah, in fact, that brings up a great story I wasn't planning on sharing, but I was at a shop near the Portland, Oregon area several years ago now. I was on night shift. We were filming, but it went into the evening time, and there was a young man, probably no more than 22 years old. He was setting up a 5-axis mill. And I walked over to him and I'm like, hey, how long have you been here? And he said, I've been here about 6 months. So I figured, he must be a machinist, from another shop. I said, so what other shop did you come from? I know most of the shops in the area. And he said, I came from KFC. And I'm like, KFC? I don't know that shop. And he's like, no, I mean Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I said, well, is this your first machining job? And he's like, yep, first time. And I said, so I'm like doing the calculus in my head. I'm like, you're on night shift. You don't really have much day support in the office. You're setting up a 5-axis mill. You've been machining for only 6 months. Are you like a wonder kid? Like, what's going on here? And he said, well, come on over here. And he showed me his ProShop screen. And he had pictures and videos and sequence detail and all the steps laid out for exactly how to set up that machine. And that was prepared by the programmers and the guys on day shift. But he was able to go from no experience, very mechanically inclined kid, obviously, but to setting up 5-axis mills because the documentation was there, the process was dialed in. And I was at another customer recently who had 2 people in. I think they worked at Papa John's the week before, and they were doing precision welding. In an automated cell, all documented in ProShop. So it really can, that's not just a ProShop thing, that's a process documentation thing that's enabling people that have interest in the industry, that are mechanically inclined to rapidly gain their skill sets by learning and teaching and documenting. Speaking of always be learning, so important.
You're a humble man. ProShop is a great product. It's not just an everybody thing. And ProShop focuses on that. And I know Adam's waiting for us just on the other side of these doors, but I want to look at the audience and just say something, in my opinion, that's somewhat meaningful, which is, if you're looking for help, if you're looking for the next generation of folks, if you're looking to expand and grow at a reasonable and professional rate, ProShop supports that. This ERP supports that. It brings in talent from KFC, for crying out loud, which means it could probably bring in work from a grocery store or Pizza Hut or everything else as well. So what I'm saying is, these are the things that will allow us, instead of complaining all the time about not being able to find help, adapt to technology of today like Roush Yates has, and incorporating technology and allowing themselves to do the medical and do the aerospace and do the defense, and they can continue to expand. So that's enough of my long-windedness. We got Adam right here, ready to go. We're excited to see him. Adam, how are we doing today, buddy?
Good. Hey, Adam, good to see you.
You too.
Thanks for having us.
Ryan, you know this guy?
I do. Nice to meet you, Adam.
You know this guy.
Yeah. Just a little.
I got dirty hands from playing with that other material. But Adam, I believe, has something pretty profound about ProShop that he utilizes it for as well, right?
Yeah, so Adam, tell us about your job, what you kind of do here in the facility.
So I cut work orders and place them on the schedule on the proper work centers. Also kind of have the availability to move jobs around really easy.
Yep.
Just a couple clicks here and there, and we can move stuff around. We can reprioritize.
Yeah.
And it's all visual.
Yeah. So you're scheduling all 60 machines, plus the ancillary work centers like powder coating, plating, painting, assembly, quality. Yeah, that's a lot of things going on.
It is. There's a lot of automation that you guys built into it.
Sure.
Makes it a little easier. Some of it just kind of let it go and it works.
Sure. You want to show us just a tiny little bit about sort of how you do your daily work here?
So this schedule is already kind of logged in. We're just working through it. As you can see, like I mentioned visually, there's some red stuff here, right? That tells me it's late or we need to work on
or it might be late in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
So real good tool for me. I have the available hours on the machine up here for as far as what's scheduled on that work center.
And the actuals,
So I can see the 1 week average that the guys are putting more hours to that work center. So that they know that there's a need there for them to dig us out of that hole, right?
So it's a little too small for the camera, but this machine is available 65 hours a week, but you're actually putting 78 hours a week for the last 1 week, 70, 55. So yeah, you're really ramping up to get that throughput, get more spindle time, get more throughput, more chips made. Yeah, that's important.
Guys, I am notorious for interrupting, but I have to right here because I've done so many videos where we talk about having a pallet chain system like these Yazdas right here, these Makinos over here, and being able to do a hot job as it comes in and throwing it right into the mix. Tell me that's not the perfect, partner is to have ProShop and go, oh, well, there's that hot job, let's throw it in. Wait, I can still run 24/7 and be able to do everything I need to do. That's where we bring it all together. If I don't have ProShop and I do have my pallet chain system, maybe a hot job comes in, maybe I'm able to load it and unload it, but maybe I'm lost on what comes next, before, after. This is where you're organizing. Again, it's that true integration of all things, isn't it, Paul?
Sure. Yeah, it's hard to, especially with 60 CNCs plus all the other work centers, knowing the impact of inserting a hot job. Like if I got a 50-hour job and my customer really needs it as fast as possible, if you drop that into the schedule, it'll immediately show you the impact for other work orders. Then you can decide to move machines, you can decide to expedite something through plating, you can make those decisions to, be on time for all your customers, yet still, meet the demands of that really hot, hot new customer you're trying to win. Maybe this is your first opportunity, and you can make sure you execute on that.
Well, Adam, I don't know, Paul, is there anything else you want to, this to me is, it really does connect the dots. I talk about machining a lot. I talk about running 24/7. The fact that electricity is always going to cost us money, even when we're at home by ourselves, right?
Sure.
And to be able to run unattended throughout the nights and weekends, we're doing that more. But this is where it comes all together, right, Adam?
Yes, sir.
To me, that's what makes sense. Is there anything you'd like to say more with Adam before we thank him, shake his hand, slap him on the butt, and get on our way?
Well,
I want the butt part though.
Obviously, we're here in this very automated cell. I know you guys run even more automated in your Makino 6-pallet or 6-machine cell, which is an incredible thing to behold. We'll get some cutaway of that, but what you're doing here, trying to facilitate the flow of, I'm sure, hundreds, if not thousands, of work orders at once, is a monumental task. And thanks for the trust to let ProShop do that with you. And you're out here making the things that make the world go round. So thank you for being a machinist.
Yeah,
That's right. Hashtag thank you, machinist. Adam, first time on camera?
Amazing.
You are amazing. Thank you for doing that. You did a wonderful job. Let's bring Brian back into this and just talk a little bit more about the automation side of things.
Sure.
Because as we automate, we're obviously making more. It all comes together again, doesn't it?
It does. So automation is definitely going to be a key factor for the future, right? The machine automation has opened itself up to be more economical to invest in. That's why you see a lot of the different automation. Our move forward strategic plan is that most of our new equipment will have some type of automation, whether it's a part loader like you see back here with the pallet pulls or a robot loader of some kind. Either way, the attribute of moving forward with more automation where you can get the cycle time provides an economics, right? We're against a lot of other industries, a lot of other countries to provide basically ample manufacturing costs. And automation is one of those ways to do it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. It reminds me of yet another thing that kind of really differentiates ProShop. When you're doing this lights out manufacturing, or you have someone that's minimally attending multiple machines, like ProShop can track the unattended time, but it can also track, one machinist working on 4 different machines with 25% of their time, or 10, 20, 50, 30, and properly job track, time track, and job cost that, right? Because that gets into a whole level of nuance of, well, the machine is this much per hour, the labor is this much per hour, it's only working 10% on this machine, 20% on this machine, and at the end of the day, if you don't have accurate time tracking and job costing data, it's hard to make decisions about where you're losing money, where you're making money, where to focus your sales efforts. And that's strategically just a long-term, really important thing to consider. If you want a long enduring company that's you're not, pinching pennies at the end of the month. So
yeah, much like a magic carpet ride with Aladdin, that's a whole new world. That is, when you get into that misquoting, that's where a lot of folks are failing, and that is so very important. It's not a general number. It's not an assumed number. We need to know those details. Otherwise, we're failing at an epic level in a lot of cases. Very well said. Well, gentlemen, as we close this thing out and we continue to walk and we continue to see this manufacturing facility, I want to say thank you, first of all, and just kind of, if we could wrap this whole story up with a nice little bow for everyone. 2018 was when it was first incorporated. What number did you say, 73?
Yep, 73rd customer.
73rd customer. Let's talk about the relationship and the future of Roush Yates as well.
Yeah, I think for me, having a partner, especially on a system basis, is really essential for growth, right? As you grow to that next level, you're always going to be challenging each other, both system-wise and challenges of how do you tweak in certain elements to keep that efficiency that you have.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, we deeply appreciate this partnership. It's kind of a dream come true to work at a company of this level, and the fact that that ProShop was born out of a precision machining company and still has deep roots in that today, not only with our customers, but for example, I know that you've had some of our trainers out.
Yes, absolutely.
Our trainers are generally from the shop floor. They've been machinists, some of them have been shop owners, some of them have been programmers, quality engineers, quality managers. So they not only know ProShop really well, but they deeply understand the manufacturing business.
100%.
And they can talk best practices, they can talk systems, not just which buttons to press to do different things, but how it all comes together to have a seamless execution of a manufacturing facility like what you guys have here.
100% agree.
We're really proud of that fact that we have those roots, and we continue to invest in the folks, the people, the processes to support the companies that make the whole world go around. Right? You hear me talking about it all the time. It's precision manufacturing is the bedrock of the economy. Everything in the entire world starts with machining one way or another, and it's the hardest business in the world to execute on. So it's a lot of things that come together well, and it's such an honor to be able to do it with you guys.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for all your time and partnership.
You as well.
Ryan,
Tony.
It's not every day we get to come into and show a shop like this to the audience. Again, thank a machinist. And to bring this whole thing full circle, as you mentioned, being a kid in a candy store with all the manufacturing and motors, the audience loves that we get to be able to see this as well. So honestly, thank you so much for allowing us to come in and share your story and the partnership with ProShop ERP.
You're always welcome.
It matters. It
Thank
all
you, Brian.
matters. Yes. Oh, shall we step outside?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
I mean, Brian's nice enough to spend time with us, but this is a busy guy right
here.
Yeah,
I know. He's got to go get some things done.
So let's step back outside. Brian, one more time, my friend.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Paul, I know you love those motors and you're a kid in a candy store.
Hey, what? Oh, sorry, Tony. I just can't help it. I absolutely love it. It's like candy. It's like jewelry to me.
Plus, we are at, Roush Yates, so we
I know.
may as well enjoy our time, right? Let's step outside, close this whole thing up. I mean, gosh, how much fun was that? I mean, Brian,
I absolutely love coming here.
Yeah.
I mean, not only is it the most beautiful facility I've ever seen, but just the
You can get there, I promise you can.
the sophistication of what they're doing and how ProShop is helping them do that is just super fulfilling for me, quite honestly. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I agree. And the opportunity from the MTD side of things to work with you guys, to work with Roush Yates, and to show people the cleanliness of the shop itself, to show people the automation, to show people the acceptance of technology and adapting that so those outside of manufacturing go, oh my gosh, it's not as dirty and dull as I thought it was. It's not as dangerous as I thought it was. Those 3 Ds we always talk about. So
yeah.
On behalf of MTD CNC, thank you to you. Thank you to Roush Yates for allowing us to showcase what factories look like. And yeah, maybe this one's a cut above the rest, let's be fair. But at the same time, it's out there. We want you in manufacturing. It's so very important. So if you made it to the end of this video, to the end of this tour, we thank you for being a part of this as well, because we do thank a machinist, and time is the one thing we cannot manufacture or get more of. So thank you for spending it with us. Paul, you,
Tony,
my friend, are incredible.
such a pro. Appreciate it, my man. Good seeing you.